Hey you guys, happy Friday. We're back with another episode of Wait, Run That Back? So today's episode we're going to be talking about the movie Closer. I hope you did your homework and you watched this movie beforehand. But in case you're new to my channel and you have never seen any of my videos and you don't know who I am, hey, my name is LorenEleece. And we're a community of people who love amazing movies, but we don't have anybody to watch it with. So I became your best friend here on YouTube so we could watch it together, and we go over the whole movie in full detail. So just to let you know, disclaimer, any of my videos are spoil alerts. Make sure you watch the video before watching me, okay? So today we are actually going over our 5th movie. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. We've already done 5 movies together. Yay! Closer came out in 2004 and is starring Julia Roberts, Natalie Portman, Clive Owens, Jude Law. Now, I told y'all in previous videos I always say it's an amazing cast, so I worked on it this time to make sure I did not say that, even though it's an amazing cast. Now, I don't remember this movie at all. I was scrolling through TikTok and they had a clip of this movie and I was like, oh, I gotta see it. I'm so happy I did, because this was a great movie. If you haven't watched this movie, you can watch this movie on Hulu. It's free on Hulu. If you watch it on Amazon Prime or if you watch it on YouTube, you have to pay for it. Watch it on Hulu, okay? It's a romantic drama about 2 couples who have a series of entanglements. The first time I watched this movie, I tried to take notes. But it was so much going on that I was like, oh, I'm just going to have to watch this movie and engulf myself in it and rewatch it and finish these notes, because there was no way I could keep up and write notes at the same time. So last night I watched it for the 2nd time. And to be honest, I really need to watch it for a 3rd time. There was so many, entanglement is what this movie really should have been called. I still don't understand why it's called Closer. Entanglement should have been the correct title for this movie, because outside of just the storyline, it's that movie. So before we get started, spoil alert. Spoiler alert. Child, you know this is a spoiler alert. I gave you your spoiler alert. If you have not watched this movie, I told you go watch it on Hulu. And unless you want to know all the details of this movie, I suggest you exit stage left. Alright, let's start. I really didn't know how we were going to talk about this movie. I didn't know if I wanted to go over the plot like I normally do, because now the other movies that I've done seem very textbook compared to this movie. So I didn't know if I wanted to talk about it in detail, or do I just want to go over the symbolism, because we've all watched this movie already. So I didn't know how to do this, but what I am going to do is I'm going to go over the plot like I normally do, and then at the end we're going to go over the details, and I'm going to see if y'all were able to attach one point to the next point and all that other good stuff. So if I'm going through this plot and there seems to be stuff that I am mentioning that seems irrelevant, it may seem irrelevant until we get to the end. So just bear with me. I can't even guarantee you this is going to be a short video. I'm telling y'all, I am working on, since I'm obviously new to this and all that good stuff, I'm trying to make my videos not be so long, but it's kind of hard to talk about the movie with you guys in detail. At some point, I'm going to get so good at filming these videos that it's definitely going to be less than an hour. But since I am new to this and, I'm trying to figure out my flow in this, right now my thing has been like an hour, 25 minutes has been my average. I'm telling y'all that my flow will get better and it won't be so long. However, this movie may be a long video due to the fact of everything that comes in this movie. Okay, let's stop talking about it. You guys already know the drill by now, so if you see me looking this way, it's because my laptop is right here and this is where I wrote all my notes. We start off this movie walking down the street with Natalie Portman and Jude Law. Why does Natalie Portman look like Cyndi Lauper at this point? I have no idea, but that look was not becoming. I don't know what she was going through in this movie, but that was not it, okay? They're walking towards each other and they get to a light. They're on opposite sides of the street. And this heifer was not paying attention and ends up getting hit by a car. We find out later in the movie it was because she wasn't accustomed to the direction of traffic, because this is London, England. Jude Law's character checks on her and her first response before passing out is, "Hello, stranger." At first I thought she was only injured on her head, which was only a couple of little scratch marks that we see in the hospital, until Jude Law shows her leg and it was like, dang, she was jacked up, okay? The first 10 minutes of this movie is them getting to know each other, starting off in the ER room, which is a weird place to be flirting if you ask me. Like, I just got hit by a whole car. Probably embarrassed the hell out of myself that someone I was already checking out even watched this whole commotion happen. But now we're in the ER and we're already flirting. It was a little soon in my opinion, but hey, you know. Natalie, and I'm going to keep saying her real government name, the actress Natalie Portman, because neither one of them has exchanged their names to one another. So we're just going to keep it just like the movie. They hadn't exchanged names yet, but she is going through his bag. Excuse me? You just gonna go through my bag? He sees her going through his bag. She's actually holding up this weird tinfoil pack. And he was like, "Oh, you don't like my sandwiches?" And then she was like, "No, I'm not a fan of fish." He says, "Why not?" She says, "Because fish piss in the sea." And he says, "So do children." And then she says, "I don't eat children either." Knowing the rest of the movie, this is our first time seeing that she is a very cheeky conversationalist. When they leave that hospital, which I guess they just did a little patching up on Natalie Portman's character, they go outside and she gets a cigarette from a stranger. So as she's smoking her cigarette, she offers Jude Law's character a cigarette. And he says, "No, I'm trying to stop." And then she says to him, "Try harder." He takes her on an unconventional tour of London where he starts kind of like asking her questions. And one of the questions, she explains that she is a waif. I'll be honest, I didn't know what the hell that was. Maybe y'all did, I didn't. I did go ahead and look up a definition for you guys, and it says it's a homeless, neglected, or abandoned person, especially a child, or a young person who is thin and looks unhealthy or uncared for. So I did like her use of a waif. But she's moved from New York City to London with absolutely nothing. See, and that's why I didn't know what a waif was, because in my mind I'm like, oh, so she's like a gypsy. You know, moving around, just letting the wind take her, you know. They walk into the cemetery for people who died saving someone's life. Natalie is focused on something on the wall. Meanwhile, Jude Law is opening up because he remembers the park from being where him and his father came after his mother died from smoking. They get on a bus, and on the bus I thoroughly enjoyed their back and forth about how he works in obituaries. Twice now he has said that he's a journalist, but he's a journalist by way of writing obituaries in the paper. She asked him, "How did you get into writing obituaries?" He explains it's because he believes he has no talent. He corrects himself and says it's because he has no voice. He writes in the orbits page, which is what he calls it, where it's him and two other guys in his department. So there's 3 people in his department. He speaks about how he uses euphemisms in the obituaries for these random people. and gives her a couple little examples on how he does it. So, in case you don't know what a euphemism is, it's a mild or indirect word or expression substituted for one considered to be too harsh or blunt when referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing. So, with that being said, she was like, well, give me a euphemism. And he says, disarming. He calls her disarming. They keep talking. We learn that she actually used to be a stripper back in New York City. And hey, I'm all here for the sex workers. You know, get your paper, boo-boo. Get it how you need to. They're talking some more. And so she explains why she has fled New York City. And he assumes it's because of a man. Turns out that was the truth. She explains that she breaks up with him. But how she does it, she explains that she says, I don't love you anymore. Goodbye. Because in her mind, you don't leave if you still love them. They get to the building where he works. And right before he walks inside, you know, she asks him, like, do you have a girlfriend? He replies, I do have a girlfriend. Her name is Ruth and she's a linguist. He asks her, what is your name? She responds, my name is Alice. I'm not even going to lie. I wasn't sure if she was being for real or not because we've all seen the movie, correct? So even though we learn at the end that that's not really her name, I thought she was lying anyway when she said her name in this moment because I'm thinking she's just saying a name because he has a girlfriend. Like, if you just met this guy, he's good looking, whatever, but he has a girlfriend, why would I give you my real name? I mean, us girls do that just for something small as someone trying to buy us a drink. So, yeah, I just thought she was lying. That was just my thought process. This movie doesn't do a very good job with explaining to us how much time has passed. It's only if you pay attention to what they're saying that you know the time period. So at this point, a year has gone by since we saw Dan and Alice meeting each other. So a year has passed and Dan is in a photo shoot with Julia Roberts' character, whom we found out her name is Anna. I don't know at what point we find out what Dan's name is, but Dan is Jude Law's character. We know that now. Okay, moving on. Dan has written a book about Alice. The book doesn't come out for another year though, but Anna has read it because his publicist gave her the manuscript. And they have this weird back and forth that's like oddly flirtatious. I said earlier that Alice is very cheeky, but he's cheeky too. But his comes off more arrogant and cocky. So he's examining her space. He discovers she loves aquariums for photographing strangers. By this point, both of them have asked each other, like, how does it feel that you wrote a book about someone else's life? He retorts to her, how do you feel taking people's identity by taking their portraits? Soon after, he asks her, am I a stranger? And she says, no, you're a job. And continues taking his pictures. When y'all watch this movie, did y'all notice the god-awful music playing in the background in this particular scene? If you didn't, go back and listen to it. It is awful, okay? I was like, what is she listening to? You know, music in a photo shoot, and I'm just telling y'all this as a professional model, like, music in the background really sets the mood. It gives you a certain... It gives you a certain persona or demeanor when it comes through in your pictures. Like, for example, if I turn on something sexy, I'm able to pose sexy. If I'm listening to something like rock or, you know, something along those lines, then I'm very edgy. If I'm listening to something like talking about still your girl, I'm gonna give you confidence and be like, yeah, you want this, like, you know. So the fact that she was playing this like horrible, I don't know what it was, but it was bad. It was so bad. My ears was bleeding this entire scene. But I was just wondering if y'all noticed that, because at some point Dan asked Anna to come here and they shared this very awkward yet passionate kiss. And the only reason why I'm calling it passionate, because it wasn't passionate as far as I'm like, you could feel the energy when kissing, not that passionate. I call it passionate because He kisses her forehead. He kisses all around her face. Like, these are very intimate, very romantic kisses. And you don't know her. I don't know. I just picked up on that, and I was just like, that's, you just don't meet too many men who's kissing you on the forehead at first meet. Like, that's weird. Awkward in a way, too. It's almost like they've been knowing each other prior to that. And I did question that in this moment. Did they know each other prior? Because who kisses somebody all around the face, not so much on the lips, but all around the face, and we don't know each other? Interesting. After the kiss, Anna wants to ask questions all of a sudden. Like, okay, girl. Yeah, ask questions, because if I'm about to start making out with you, I need to know some things. She starts asking him, like, is the chick that you wrote in the book your girlfriend? Do y'all live together? Turns out Alice and Dan had been living together. And he describes her as young. Apparently she works down the street at the cafe. She's very lovable, but completely unleavable. So he's very possessive. Anna points this out. By the way Dan is describing Alice, it sounds like the girl is fine, but something about her is not keeping you enticed. It's not keeping you wanting to be with her. But you're so possessive that you won't get rid of her. You won't leave her. Honestly, I didn't even know unleavable was a word until this movie. I was like, unleavable? Is that a word? It's actually a word, you guys. It's a word. Unleavable. Completely unbelievable. And if that doesn't tell you men ain't ish, they not even really that into you, but they will keep you around. They will keep you around just so no one else will have you. Trifling, I swear. But the nerve of him is when we find out that he invites Alice to the shoot. Bring the girls downstairs. Like, oh, you're bold. You just kissed me, and the person you wrote a book, lived together, and all this other stuff is here. You invited her to the shoot? Bold. Men ain't ish. Not all of them. But this man wasn't ish, okay? So when Alice arrives to the photo shoot, she comes out very happy, very polite, whatever. She asks to use the restroom. She goes off to the restroom, which, mind you, the restroom doesn't seem to be but 2 feet away anyway. Meanwhile, while Alice is using the restroom, Dan boldly, I think that's going to be like the key word for him in this movie, is boldly ask Anna out while his girlfriend is in the restroom. Ooh, child, it could be me. It could be me. I mean, then she comes out the restroom, but she wasn't even gone long enough. Like, I don't even know what she went to the restroom for. I don't know if she went to pee. We never even heard the toilet flush. Like, she wasn't even in there. She could have just been washing her hands, whatever. She was not in there long enough. She came out of that restroom real quick. This was probably like the only moment that I was proud of Anna, is that she at least turned Dan down. Thank goodness. I mean, because if she hadn't, I would have judged her. I would have judged her. Before Dan leaves Alice at the photo shoot with Anna, did y'all peep that he started smoking again? Pin that. I want you to pin that in your head, right? Alice starts asking Anna all her business. It was like a complete night and day of how she was acting. At first she came in, like I said, sweet, polite, friendly, whatever, and then now all of a sudden she's not really abrasive, but she's a little snappy, kind of defensive. So we didn't understand what was going on with her. We don't know, is this how she normally acts or what? So she starts asking Anna her business. Who is she dating? Is she married? This is how we find out Anna is married, but she's separated from her husband because he cheated on her and left her for a younger woman. I guess because Alice must have had a little bit of heart for her, she admits to Anna that she heard Anna and Dan's convo while she was in the restroom, which is like, duh. I mean, how could she not hear it? And that would explain why her attitude changed so abruptly. It's sad because she's so smooth with that transition. I think any of us would have went berserk if we heard our significant other being that disrespectful so blatantly in our face. Even though he doesn't know that she heard it, I don't know how he would think that, but even though he doesn't know that, she was very smooth with that transition of figuring everything out. She proceeded very calmly. It's when she started explaining things that she noticed about Dan, it's when she started crying that I'm like, dang, either he has done this a lot already or this is his first time. But either way, whether this was normal behavior of Dan's or not, she's affected by it and she starts crying, and Anna captures the moment of her crying. A year has passed because, yet again, they don't do a very good job with explaining to us how much time has passed. But a year has passed, and we're now in this sex chat room with Clive Owens' character, Dr. Larry. This whole next scene was raunchy as hell. It was provocative.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's...
From Dr. Larry's perspective, it seems like it's a woman, but in actuality, it's really Dan pretending to be a woman. Specifically, he pretends to be Anna, and you just see a bunch of correspondence of just sex talk, and it's nasty. Oh, it's so nasty. It's so nasty. It ends with them planning a meetup, and the first meetup is supposed to be at the aquarium, and then we're going to go to a hotel room. All I could think about though is this man is disgusting, and the reason why I say this is because you're that horny that you gotta beat off at work. Like, I'm really judging at the fact that the things that Dan is saying in these messages that you're finding entertaining, some of that stuff was like, I mean, wait a second, this is not no regular vanilla sex. This is some extreme porno type stuff, and I just couldn't help but think that Larry is a freak, okay? An absolute freak. But it gets you so riled up that you're just gonna go ahead and beat your meat at work. Like, that's nasty. You're supposed to be a doctor. You're supposed to be constantly sanitized, and you're gonna be doing this, and then I gotta see you as my doctor later? First of all, he's not just a regular doctor. He's a dermatologist at that. You're gonna go and touch my face with your filthy hands? Doctor. I don't care what y'all say. Yes, doctors are supposed to be very clean people. But just like how restaurant workers are supposed to be very clean people, we really don't know these people are washing their hands. And you gonna come into the room with me, Mr. Dermatologist, and touch my face with your trifling. Is this his work computer too? Like, no one checks. I mean, granted, we are in 2004, so we don't know how great, I don't know how great technology is, or if they're able to see what websites and stuff you've been on at this point. These are old Macintosh computers, so it's like, yeah, I don't know. The day has come, and it's time for Larry to meet up with Anna at the aquarium. So we get to the aquarium, and he doesn't know what she looks like. So he's going based off of the description that but Dan described her to look, which is with the blonde hair, the epic tits. When he gets there, without him saying anything, you know that he is like doing the check off in his head. So he sees Anna sitting there, and she has the blonde hair, and I'm very sure he was checking out her boobs. And then he just throws out her name. She responds to it, And so she doesn't know who he is, but she's seemingly like playing along with him. I'm not sure if she enjoys doing that or she was just trying to see what is up first. After conversing a little bit, that's when she realized, and I don't know how she realized this, but she realized that Dan must have set this whole situation up. How did she do that? Is the real question. And the reason why I say how is because a year has passed from us seeing Dan and Anna at the photo shoot to now Dan and Anna and Larry in this whole situation. A year has passed, basically. So that's why I'm like, how does she know it was him that did this? But nonetheless, she figures it out. And Larry's in denial at first. He's like, no, you were saying these things. You can tell he so eagerly. You can tell he really wanted this hookup real bad.
We go together now?
Real bad.
We also find out that Dan changed the name of the book per Anna's suggestion for it to be named The Aquarium. Pin that in your head. We will talk about this at the end. Another thing, why did she assume that because Dan set this whole thing up, this is his way of flirting with her? That's a little creepy. It's creepy, but I think what makes it creepier is the fact that she likes it or seemingly enjoys it. I would be pissed. Like, you're setting me up with essentially a killer, possibly. Like, we don't know this man. We don't know who Larry is. We don't know anything about him. All we do know is that this Dan, whom is a stranger that you shared a random kiss with, okay, a year ago, is flirting with you by sending strangers your way. That is weird. And I would not be, ooh, this is cute. Oh my gosh, I'm so like, no, none of that. Like, I'm pissed. Like, this man could have killed me. This man could have kidnapped me. This man could have the R word me. Like, this is not attractive. This is not any of that. This is weird, creepy. I'm calling the police, low key. And are you really attracted to a sexual freak on the internet just from the little bit that he told you? You was still like, Well, if I heard that this man was interested in all those things, unless I'm a freak as well, that wouldn't be a turn on to me. I'd be like, oh, so this is what you do. You go and hook up with random chicks that you pick up from a sex room and get a hotel with them. This is what you do, Mr. Doctor? Oh, no, The whole date would be off. So flash over to Dan and Alice in their apartment. She's begging Dan for something, and at that point I didn't know what she was begging for because it wasn't until later that it was clear that Dan's father had died. So since he died, she wants to go to the funeral or to this countryside with him to support him, and she asked him, why don't you want your woman to be with you? Outside of the moment with her and Anna, this is like the second time now that we can tell, I feel, as the audience can tell, that Alice knows Dan is trifling. Like, she's testing him because the looks that she's giving him says it all to me. But first, they go to the art exhibit, and the art exhibit is Anna's art exhibit called Strangers. The only reason why we know that the name of the exhibit is called Strangers is because when Alice was looking around Anna's studio, she saw, like, it kind of looked like a postcard, and it says Strangers on it. And it's the same exact picture that we see from that moment. Alice is standing in front of her self-portrait, and Larry walks up and they start speaking to one another. After chatting it up for a little bit, that's when they realized that they were the significant others to Dan and Anna. We learn also that 4 months have passed since the aquarium. So that's how long Larry and Anna have been dating, is 4 months. On the other side of the room, Dan is talking to Alice, And she lets him know that she ended up with the guy that he was having a sexual rendezvous with in the chat room, and he's over there talking to Alice. And Dan is shocked. I think the rest of us were also shocked that she ended up with him, because Larry's a pervert. I don't care what anybody say. He's a pervert, he's a weirdo, he's all of that. And to further my point is, at some point when he's talking to Alice, he touches her face. Where are your boundaries? Like, is this a game to you? Like, what are you doing? Like, and after knowing how he be getting down, and then you gonna go and touch someone else's face? His hands are forever dirty in my mind. Like, you can't touch my face, you can't touch my body, because I don't know where your hands have been. If that doesn't ring true specifically for Larry, I don't know where your hands have been. Like, ew, ew, ew. Dan is supposed to be going out of town, so when they go to leave, he puts Alice in a taxi first, kisses her goodbye, whatever, and he's supposed to be getting into the next cab. Does he? No, he goes right back inside to talk to Anna. So Dan shows that he's jealous. But there's a lot of things that we learned in that convo that, honestly, some of that stuff was weird. Number one, Dan has been lurking, as he would call it, lurking Anna in her office, studio, whatever you want to call it. Why are you doing that, sir? Apparently, like, we have not seen each other in a year, so you gonna just be stalking me, watching me? Second thing we learned in this convo is the book that he renamed the aquarium has failed. So now he's a failed novelist, failed journalist. He asks Anna if she loves him, and she responds no, and he calls her a liar. How do you know that there is some form of love? How do you know you love him? How does he think that you love him? Like, something had to have happened more in that year's time, because if you hadn't seen him since then, how are you already in love with him? That doesn't make any sense. Like, do you not know what love is? Like, I'm confused. Okay. The last little pinpoint that I want you to put in your head. Dan says to Anna, I am your stranger. Anna comes back in and she walks over to Larry. He uses the line, hello, stranger. Pin it. You can see that Larry is now the one jealous, because he's talking ish about Dan. He says, the first thing he says is that he's deceiving in his photos because he looks bigger, but in person he's skinnier and lankier. He also tells him his observation of Alice, and he was like, Anna is an adult and Alice is a child. She has a moronic beauty of youth, but she is sly. She wants to appear open, but she's not. And you're dealing with a clinical observer. Pin it. I'm going to come back to this at the end of the movie, but pin this as well. They have an ongoing joke of calling Dan Cupid, because he is the one that brought them together in the weirdest way possible, but nonetheless, that's how they met. So they call him Cupid, like that's their own little personal joke. And Anna says that. She says to him, no, I didn't tell him that we call him Cupid because that's our joke. I'm going to have to use this line that Anna says to Larry, because I had never heard of it before. That line where she says, you're like the cat that got the cream. Stop licking yourself. I had never heard it, but honestly, even when she said it, I was like, oh, dang. That was, it was dirty. It was definitely dirty. The following scenes, we're seeing two different perspectives from each of their households, right? So let's start talking about Dan. Dan comes home and Alice is asleep. She wakes up, oh, where you been? You want some dinner? I got you. And then he lies about where he was at first. He eventually does tell her the truth. And he admits he had just been with Anna. He's in love with Anna. He's been with her since their opening. And he wants to go and be with her. Alice is distraught. Alice is devastated. She's asking why. And he's not giving her anything to comfort her, console her, nothing. So she's trying to leave. But then oddly enough, Dan prevents her from leaving. Yet again, going back to what Anna said earlier when they were at the photo shoot, he is possessive. He wants her to himself. Doesn't really want to be with her, but wants her to herself. So even with her trying to leave, he blocks the door. But then after he blocks the door, he says that him and Anna will be happier. Like, what a slap in the face. And honestly, this is the first time that I start seeing power plays. I was going to bring this up at the very end, but I'm going to just bring it up now just so that way I don't have to keep going back and reminding you on what I was talking about. So this is where I first initially saw the swap of power play, because she says to him, I'm the one who's supposed to be leaving, not you leave me. And then that's when she starts kissing him and all this random stuff. But then she makes him feel so comfortable, like she wasn't going to leave. And then as soon as he wasn't paying attention, she bolts out the door and we don't see Alice again. To me, that was a swap of power play. Why? Because he was the one leaving her, and she wasn't satisfied to leave until she got that power back. And that's why she confused the situation by kissing and all that, because she wanted to be the one that's making the decision to leave, not him leave her. Power play swap. Now, let's focus on Anna's point of view. Now, back over at Anna's house, Larry comes home from a dermatologist convention in New York City. And Anna seems disturbed or even maybe distraught. I don't know. But she looks really gray. She looks gloom. Her lips look chapped. She looks like she saw a ghost. And I think he even said that to her, like, you look flushed. This is how we learn as the audience that from the time that we saw them at the exhibit to now, that they have gotten married. Because he comes in and says, I want to mark this moment that this is my first time I'm coming home to my wife. Larry seems like he can sense something is off. But Anna's really quick with her lies. Like the whole bathtub thing, like her taking a bath and her put on clothes and she went and got milk and all this. She was very quick with her lies. But I couldn't tell if he knew something was up with her, as far as in like she has done something wrong, or was he working on his own guilt and that he thought that she knew he did something wrong. Either way, I couldn't tell why he was fishing so hard, but he definitely knew something is wrong in the energy. He scares her even about saying he saw Alice, when really it was just an acknowledgement that Anna's work, her stranger exhibit, artwork, whatever, has expanded all the way even over to New York City. That was what he was trying to say, but he also did that as a scare tactic. Larry then gets dressed, but she doesn't know why he gets dressed, so she asks him, like, why are you dressed right now? And he says it's because he predicts that Anna's about to leave him. Turns out it's because he cheated while he was in New York City. But Anna isn't mad, and he's confused. This is why I said I don't understand which is the reason why he could sense something is off. I don't know if it's because he knew he was guilty or because he knew she has done something guilty. But nonetheless, in that very next moment, she then admits to him that she has been cheating on him since her opening with Dan. At one point, they did stop. So we do learn that this has been going on for a year. I guess they must have got married at like 6 months or so. But so they dated 6 months and then got married and then was married for 6 months. But nonetheless, at one point she did stop sleeping with Dan, but she loves him and she made it be known that she wanted children, but she admits she wants children with Dan. She wants to go live with him. He calls her a spoiled. Once she explains like all that, He's like, why didn't you tell me from the moment I walked through the door? Why did you wait or dance around or whatever? It was because she was scared. I mean, to tell your husband that you've been cheating on him for almost the entire time that y'all been dating. They only had been dating 4 months prior to the opening even happening. Another power switch up, because had he walked in and she told him immediately, hey, I've been cheating, he wouldn't have admitted to her that he was cheating in New York. And if anything, he probably would have took that as a justification. Like, you know what? I knew she was cheating, so I don't even need to tell her that I cheated because hers is a whole lot worse than my little one night stand in New York. But are we surprised that he cheated? I mean, honestly, he's the freak anyway. I would be scared from the moment that we started dating anyway that I wouldn't be able to please all of his sexual fantasies, because clearly he goes to the extreme with it. He starts asking her a series of questions. Is he a good F? Is he better than me? Is this why you have a bath? Is this why you took a bath? Because you didn't want to smell like him. You didn't want to seem guilty. Did you ever used to love me? Did you do it here? Did you think of me? When did you do it? Where did you do it? How did you do it? I mean, it was this was probably my favorite part of the whole movie. And not because of why you're probably thinking why it's my favorite part, because it's not that. The reason why this scene resonated with me, because so I'm going to just tell you this quick little story. I was dating a guy and he was a serial cheater, okay? He cheated on me multiple times. I walked in on him. I caught him in text messages, FaceTime, all on dating apps. Everywhere possible, he was cheating on me. There was 2 times specifically it triggered me, right? And I thought I was weird because I wanted to know every little detail. Like I was Larry when I got cheated on. I didn't think it was normal that I was asking all the questions, because it's like, why are you trying to hurt yourself more hearing everything, knowing it's still going to lead you to the same, whether you know the details or not, it's going to lead you to the same conclusion. I probably was about as graphic as Larry was. 3 months go by. Once again, they don't tell you this, but I'm telling you. 3 months go by. Larry goes to the strip club and he bumps into Alice. Because remember, she was a stripper back in New York, and now she's gone back to what she was accustomed to doing. He gets a private room, which is called the Paradise Suite. And immediately he says he loves her. What is up with all these people falling in love? Like you don't even know this person. I mean, not to say that love at first sight ain't real, but it's like the situations in which these people are saying that they love one another, to me, is bizarre. It seems like a lot of cat and mouse cheeky convo. At least that's how Alice was making it. But it's like 1 minute Larry's being perverted, asking her what she tastes like, and telling her to drop her clothes, and he wants to touch her, all this stuff. And then the next minute he's like, you could tell he's hurting from the fact that our 2 exes are together or whatever. We all know the ending of this movie because we saw it. At least I hope you did. But this is when Alice tells Larry that her name is Jane Jones, to be specific. And it's very fascinating that she would tell Larry the truth, but never once told Dan the truth. Why is Larry more important for her to be honest with him than Dan? And this is why I said this in the beginning. I really felt like she only said her name was Alice because Dan had told her he was already dating a chick then. Ain't that crazy? He was already dating a chick then, and I feel like she just threw him a fake name, like how a normal woman would do it. But when Larry comes to her, she tells him the truth. He doesn't know it's the truth, but it is the truth. Maybe it's a pity thing. I don't know. There was a line that she said that was very significant. She says, lying is the most fun a girl can have without taking off her clothes, but it's better if you do. Larry then asks her to have sex, and she denies him. Flash over to Dan. He's at some theater, opera, whatever, waiting for Anna. She comes in, and they've been together. Like, they are together. We see that they are a couple now. We find out that Anna met up with Larry, whom she describes as he was terrible. He was terrible. But it's only been 4 months since she last saw him, so it's only a month after Larry sees Alice, but it's 4 months since Larry and Anna saw each other. I just want you to take note in this scene. Dan enjoyed the thought of Larry being miserable, because he's asking all sorts of questions, and she's like, yeah, he looked like this, he was that, blah, 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 blah. Like, he was enjoying it. Like, he's over there miserable, and I'm over here with the woman. I'm happy. We're happy. Power play, right? It turns out that Anna went up to meet Larry to get him to sign the divorce papers, which he signed. So Dan goes off to the restroom, and we have this flashback to when Larry and Anna met up that day, which was only earlier in the day. He begs for Anna to come back. Please come back, come back, come back. I forgive you, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if this is genuine or a power play. Because let me tell you, if I cheated on you, ain't no way in hell I'm going back to you. Because I don't know if you are truly genuine in wanting me back. Are you only wanting me back because, you know, I'm the one who got away, or you had this fantasy for what you thought we were going to be? Or number two, are you trying to plot revenge on me to hurt me back in the way that I hurt you? There's no way I could get back with someone that I cheated on. Like, it's a wrap. Like, I screwed it up. I take full accountability. I messed this up, and we can't have a future. But I can't go back to you. You're tainted, because even though I'm the one who tainted you, you're still tainted. I couldn't do it. It's done. But he gives her a deal. He says, if we F one last time in my new office, I'll never contact you again, and I'll sign these papers. I'm telling you, Larry is unsanitary. This is, I've already mentioned multiple times now, how this man does not care. Like, you have a surgery office. Why would you bring me to screw on? Ew. I swear it makes going to the doctor and all that stuff, like, just, like, as if it doesn't already seem disgusting for the moment you even walk in and you seen everybody sick and everything else in there. But it's, like, even worse that you over here getting it on in there. Child, I cannot. I cannot. He feels he's owed. See, this is what I said. He feels he's owed since he was deceived. And my point, this is why I couldn't go back to someone I cheated on. Because now you feel I owe you. I'm not saying I don't. What I am saying is I ain't going back to that. Why am I putting myself in that position to have to fulfill everything or do stuff that I don't want to now because of what I've already done? I ain't doing all that. No. Nope. We're back to Dan coming out of the restroom. I don't know what hit him. It's something about looking in the mirror, but he looked in the mirror, and that's when he had a gut feeling. That heifer lied to me. So he runs out and he's like, Anna, you effed him, didn't you? I do commend Anna for being honest, because she could have lied. She could have, but she didn't. So now we see it was definitely the truth, because then they show the flashback that she says, you know what, I'm doing this because I pity you. I'm doing this because I want this over. So she goes, she does it. They get it on in the office. He signs the papers. He feels relieved or whatever. But then, did y'all catch this? Did you catch this? They start joking before she leaves. Flashback to Dan and Anna talking about it. He's like, why didn't you lie to me? And he uses this specific line. Lying is currency of the world. He says he wanted to be lied to, but he didn't actually want to be lied to. No, he didn't. But he says, the innocence between us is gone. It's gone. And she's like trying to tell him, like, you know, forgive me. I did it so we can have a future. I did it out of kindness. I did it out of pity. And he's like, nah. I can't. The innocence is gone. And it's not innocence. Let's be very clear. It's not innocence. It's their own trust. Because it didn't matter that either one of them was secretly having an affair while they had their own relationships. It was the fact that our trust. Like, you're being honest with me, I'm being honest with you. We both know what our situations are. It between us two, we tell each other the truth, even though we lie to everybody else. So this is what's gone. This is the innocence that he's talking about that's gone. It's their own trust that they've established. She has broken that trust. But hold up, bear with me. Dan realizes that Larry did this to mess with him, and he can't take what he dishes. Why? The reason why he's upset is because it's a cheat for a cheat. And he knows he's thinking like Larry. He's thinking, why would Larry do this? Why would Larry force her to do this? He knows. Dan even mentions this when they're talking, that now you're going back to what you're familiar with. You're going back to your old jokes. I think you enjoyed all of it. I think you had a great time with this. He even implies that you couldn't stand the idea of him hating you. Pin that in your head. It's raining. It's pouring raining. And we see Dan is running. He goes to this office, and it turns out that it's Larry's office. And he's begging, asking, begging, pleading for Anna back. And this is just a whole pissing contest between the two guys. If we don't see anything else from this scene, is that Anna is the problem. She is truly the problem. Because, yes, Dan left Anna, but she went right back to Larry, which was what Dan thought she was going to do anyway. Anna also goes back and tells all the business to Larry. All the things that she did with her lover, she goes back and tells her main dude. And goes back to the jokes. I have to commend Dan because he was bold. To go back into your ex-lover's current dude's job, beg for the same woman back, and also then you gonna start bawling in front of him? I mean, he had to have been so in love with Anna, because most men's ego, pride, whatever you want to call it, wouldn't allow them to do that. And Larry, we're going to talk about this in the end. I don't want to go too deep into this scene because I want to really explain that at when we're done with the movie. But Larry pushes Dan back to Alice, but not without leaving Dan with a guilt trip. He tells Dan he effed Alice. I mean, Larry is just like what Dan said at the theater. Larry is clever. Larry is very conniving. Larry is a snake. He really kind of is. What's truly crazy is, as soon as Larry wrote down that address to find Alice wherever she is, the strip club that she's at, whatever, I mean, Dan takes it so gleefully. Like, he went from straight up bawling his eyes out to, all right, well, fine, I'll take her back. And is happy about it, like, oh, give it to me. But it was just so hard to not feel bad for Dan in this moment. And notice, they made Dan look like a simp. The wet dog, all rained on, tail between his legs, all that. Like, they made him look like a complete simp. And we're going to discuss that at the end too. Alice and Dan get back together. He went got his woman, he got her back. And they're going on a trip to celebrate their anniversary. And they go over memories of their relationship, including, pin it, the euphemisms and how he called her disarming. He admits to her that on the way to the hospital, he kissed her forehead and claimed her as his own. I just want to point out that, once again, well, actually, it was Anna and Dan that was kissing very passionately the first time. But Dan obviously has this thing for kissing foreheads, and which is not just, it's not just the fact that it's a kiss on the forehead. It's just the fact that it symbolizes such, it's this very sentimental kiss, But I also felt like it was weird because you didn't know her, and the taxi driver asked you, is she yours? And you was like, yeah, she's mine. Excuse me? You don't even know me and I don't know you, and now I'm passed down, can't even defend myself because I just got hit by a car or a cab or whatever, and you gonna sit here and claim it and be kissing all on me? Dan begins to question Alice. And she's like, why do you want to know these things? Like, you did your dirt. And now you want to know about what I've been doing while you were gone and in a whole nother relationship with a chick that you left me for, but you're pushing me to answer these questions? And he's like, yes, because without the truth, we're animals. Pin it. So he's over here, he's looking for cigarettes. Other than the beginning, this whole movie, Dan had been smoking cigarettes. But we do find out that Alice is not smoking cigarettes anymore. And she says it's because of her deep inner strength. Pin it. I'm telling y'all are pinning a lot of things for me. Bear with me, we're at the end, okay? We're at the end. So he's searching for cigarettes and gives up trying to find some and is like, I'm gonna go buy some. But when I get back, please tell me the truth. So he leaves, and I told you something about the mirrors. But as soon as he look in the mirror, he gets a gut feeling. And he went back into the room, and he gives her a random flower that he found on a tray on the floor. And when he tries to give it to her, she says to him, I don't love you anymore. Goodbye. And to answer his question, she tells him the truth. That yes, she effed Larry. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really believe her. She says things sometimes where it's not believable. I'm not sure, and this is even when Larry said it to Dan. I don't know if Larry said he effed Alice to mind F Dan, and I don't know if Alice felt like he just wouldn't leave this alone. And he's going to keep asking me until he gets the answer that he wants versus actually hearing the truth. So she just went ahead and told him. I still don't know. Even after watching the whole movie, I still don't know. We'll just assume that they did, but I don't know. Especially because when the actual scene happened, she denies it there. So that's why I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. It could all just been... It could have been a lie. It could have been a lie on both hands. It could have been a lie from Larry to do a power maneuver. And it could also have been for Alice a lie. So that way she could calm him and give him the answer that he wants. So I don't know. But he does admit that he already knew. He already knew because... And that's when he admits to her that he saw Larry and Larry told him that they did. But she, at this point, she don't even care. Once that shock of, wow, Larry told him this, okay, well, fine, whatever. Once she got past that, she didn't care because she's like, look, you have not been treating me with love. I can't see it. I can't feel it. I can't touch it. I can't prove that you love me. You keep saying you do, but it's just all words. Your actions don't say that. Only your words say that. So then she tries to get up. She tries to call security, whatever, to leave. And he's like, why did you do it? 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 And she lies the whole explanation on why she effed him. She gave him like so many different scenarios on why. She's like, because he was nice to me. Because of this. Because of that. And then she spits on him. I mean, the most disrespectful thing she could have possibly did. But she spit on him. And not just spit on him like, oh, like, no, she spit in his face. He slaps the dog piss out of her. And I ain't gonna lie. I mean, now, you're not supposed to do it. And he's a man. He shouldn't have done it. But for anybody who spits in my face, don't ask me. Don't ask me what my reaction will be, because I don't know. I will go berserk. Like, that is like the nastiest thing you could do. I already don't really like saliva, baby saliva, dog saliva, saliva in general. Like, and then you spit in my face. Oh, Nook, if you buck right up, okay? Because yeah, you're trying me. You tried me. But yeah, he slaps the dog piss out of her. the movie ends and they kind of just tie up the endings there. So we see Anna is back with Larry. They're in bed together. But honestly, she looked miserable. She didn't look happy. She didn't look like, I got the best out of this whole situation. Like, nah, she looked miserable. Alice was leaving for New York, and this is where they show her passport. Because remember, in that previous scene, she did not want him to know where her passport was. And that's because her real name was actually Jane Jones. Dan goes back to the cemetery, and this time when he goes, he notices what Alice was staring at the beginning, which is Alice stole that name off of the wall of someone else's gravesite and used it as her own. So who was the real stranger in this entire movie? Was Alice. So the movie ends with Alice, Jane walking down the street just like the very beginning, and they play the exact same song over. Now that the movie is over, let's get into it, y'all. All them pinning, you gotta follow me, honey. You gotta follow me. Comment down below on anything that I say. If you have questions or you have things that you would like to point out to me, I want to see it. I want to hear it, all of that, okay? So, wait, run that back? I had no idea that this movie was so intricate and that it was going to take this long to review. It is worth it though, but I need your attention spans, okay? Because I need you to stay in there with me. So with that being said, I'm going to do a part 2, okay? So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so that way you can catch part 2 of the movie Closer. Alright, bye guys. As Blue Ivy do. Bye.